Okay, great. So now that we've got our two portraits together, we're happy that the features line up. We're just going to check that that nose lines up okay. So I'm going to turn off these two layers. Oh, sorry, we're going to check that the nose lines up okay. And more importantly, that we've not got any straight edges visible in the image. So I'm going to click on the eye icon for the layer over here on the right-hand side for the top portrait, and then the same again for the other portrait, and that will hide those two pictures. Now, what you should be able to see, all I should be able to see is a nose, and what I'm looking for here, I'm just going to zoom in, is to make sure we've not got any straight edges on the edit. So we've not got any harsh straight lines or anything that looks out of place that we don't want. We just want to see half of that nose, which looks good to me. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my other two layers again, and we're just going to do two quick final alterations for the image. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Control minus. I'm going to try and change the shape of the lip a little bit, so it's a little bit closer on the right hand side and the hairline. What we don't want is to end up with the two portraits looking exactly the same, because then there's no point in doing the edit. But what we have got currently with the hair is the picture on the right, the hair's a little bit higher than the picture on the left. So to do this, I'm going to use exactly the same set of tools we've used previously, that we've just used, and I'm going to try and get the hair to line up a little bit better. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Control minus. And then on the portrait on the top, so the girl on the left-hand side, I'm going to select a big section of hair. So just like with the nose, I want to select a section bigger, much bigger than I need it to be. So really, all we're interested in is that top bit of hair at the top. But I'm going to select an area much wider than that, so it's less obvious where I've altered it. I'm not going to come down quite as low as a hairline, so just to about here. Okay. Using the marquee tool again on the right hand side of the palette, and then I'm going to press Control C to copy it, making sure I'm on the layer, not the layer mask, and then Control V to paste. And again, we get a new layer pasted in. When it pastes in, it'll be slightly out of position, so I'm just going to drop the opacity a little bit and just make sure it lines up with the image that was there before. So just using the Move tool right at the top and the palette on the right hand side, move it into position. Again, just like before, you can use arrow keys for finer adjustments as you need it, and then press Return. Okay, exactly the same as previously. We're going to add a layer mask by clicking on that symbol again at the bottom there, and you should see that, let's call it, we'll treat it like a piece of paper appears to the side of it. Okay, again, I want to get rid of or hide some of this hairline. So I'm going to use black paint and the brush tool. So make sure black is at the forefront of the color palette. Brush tool, make sure that the hardness is down on the brush tool so that you get a soft edge, and increase the brush size if you need to. I'm going to paint on this image on the layer mask in black, and you should see that hairline starts to disappear a bit. So really, all I want is this section of hair in again, soft line across here, and across the bottom edge. So I'm going to turn off the bottom two layers again, reset the opacity on it now. So eye icon to turn off the two layers, reset the opacity on the layer to 100%. And again, I'm going to use a brush tool just to get rid of, painted on the layer, not the layer mask. I'm just going to edit, step backwards. So make sure I'm on the layer mask, not the layer. And I'm going to soften the edge there. Holding down Shift, click, or paint a straight line, can go up to the top, all the way around the image like so. So now I've got a softly blended image. I'd check that before you go any further with your edit. And I'm going to put back on my other two layers by clicking on the eye icons again to reinstate them. Okay, great. You can see the hair is just perhaps a tiny little bit high. So I'm just going to click on the Move tool, bring that down a little bit. Okay, what we're going to do now is just warp the hairline to bring it down a little bit. So this time, instead of being on the layer mask, going to click on the layer, so highlight the layer itself. And I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and Warp. And you see that I'll put these series of boxes around the section of the hair. So I'm going to bring the top line down a little bit and the line below, and you can see that's lowering that section of a hairline until it falls in line with the hair on the other side. Don't want to do anything too drastic. I want to do the minimum to get it to work. Okay, so I think that lines up pretty well now. So I'm going to click on, well, I'm just going to press return, and that's going to apply that transformation. You should see anywhere where the hair doesn't quite line up, because it's quite a soft texture, we won't be able to see where that's happened. So now what we've got is two portraits that blend really well together, a nice soft blend through the middle. The hairline lines up, the nose lines up, and we're pretty close to being finished. I'm just going to zoom in now and check to see if there's anything else we want to alter. I'm going to do the same thing now, I think, with the lips, just to show you how to do it, but I think I would leave it. So actually I quite like it with the lips being a different size, but I'm going to show you how to get them to be a similar thickness, just using the exact same technique we've used on the hair just. Okay, and we'll start that in one moment.